it's wonderful to be able to talk about the Akan tradition. And all of you Yoruba devotees, we've had relationships for decades. We have always had close relationships one way or another. So I'm going to get right to it. As you can see, the title of my talk is My Husband is a Healer and I Am His Hands. And J. Laura Matori in The King's Mail Order Bride posits that initiation transforms people through metaphors drawn from worldly relationships. At the Guan-Akan Akonnedi Shrine, ritual unions with deities assume the form of marriages, paternal and maternal parentages. These bonds begin and are consummated through the rites of passage for initiation, training, and graduation. My argument focuses on the metaphysical manifestations, the exchanges and displacements of one of the four components of personhood within this system, and that will be called the sum sum, or the spiritual personality, the character of a person, and it also encapsulates the astral body that travels during dreams, that is the part of the spirit that is engaged during possession and trance and divination. The sum sum actually guides and binds practitioners to their spiritual spouses and parents. I am married to the deity Asurjabi and share him with hundreds of other co-wives throughout Ghana and the United States. He is a consummate healer and consoler of physical, spiritual, and mental diseases. Not only does my relationship extend to the deity, but it includes a link to my ritual co-wives. I have thousands of co-wives throughout the United States and Ghana. He is polygynous in the same way that Olokun is, okay? So I have a link to my ritual co-wives, which is only broken with death, and hopefully I'll have time to get to that part where we sever our relationships at the funeral of the priestess. My presentation will discuss the life cycle of a Asurjabi priest and also priest. And I use priest here as a non-gendered term. From the onset of the calling to priesthood, the priest to be is designated by the deity and then formally vetted and guided by the head priestess or priest trainer. After 3 to 5 years of austere instruction, an elaborate graduation marks the transition into working priesthood and its ongoing daily operations, manifested in spiritual possession, divination, and ritual processes. Through the deity, priests and priestesses spend their lifetime in service to the state, the community, and the family, while the final death and funeral rites of priesthood crown their achievements and sever ties with the deity and the surviving priest's wives. But first, I'm going to try to cut this down to save time, but just a brief history of the shrine in Ghana, how it came about. Larteh, Ghana sets in the Akwa region, the eastern, Akwa area in the eastern region of Ghana. And it sets 1,200 feet above sea level. There's two ridges. They call it the mountains, okay? It's about 45 minutes outside of Accra. It's a farming community, and it was originally settled by the agricultural Guan, who are considered indigenous to modern-day Ghana. So from the 1600s, Larteh had dozens of male deities within the town that were ministered to by the male patrilineal priest leaders, as they call them. Akonnedi was actually the first female deity in the town and appeared to its first priestess, Ajo Okonfo, in the late 1800s. Now, there's a legend that goes along with that. I won't really go into that, but there's a legend and a myth about Akonnedi. The shrine came about because Akko was a farmer who had a daughter named Nedi. Nedi got pregnant before she was married, and she died during childbirth and died in the bush, and then they went into the bush to try to find her, and all they found was an anthill. Okay, so that's the legend. When I interviewed people, they didn't really want to talk about that. You know, that was sort of something that they didn't go into. So The Akonnedi Shrine, who is a female Guan deity, had a succession of female priestesses. And I think it was to balance the fact that you had all these other male deities and male priest leaders. So Akonnedi came at a time when that needed to be balanced. Now, they had only one woman is head priestess at a time at the Akonnedi Shrine. But over time, these head priestesses added other Akan deities, the first being the warrior deity of Adadakofi, very strong, about social justice. Then Nanesi Ketawa was added, who is a Fati deity who takes care of women, especially during pregnancy, also ministers to children. Okay? Now, in 1957, the person and the woman, the head priestess that brought Akonnedi to the national and the transnational stage was Nana Parabia. Now, she brought in Asurgebi, who was my husband, and I argued that through Asurgebi, this is what contributed to Nana Parabia's renown and power, because Asurgebi is a healer of extensive proportion, and is through Asurgebi, who she brought through her father's side of the family, who is a river deity, and he was brought in through her father's side of the family. And her power and influence was greatly optimized during that particular time. Her power and influence was also optimized because of her association with Kwame Nkrumah, the first president of Ghana. And Kwame Nkrumah wanted to make spirituality and the traditional healing arts a part of the national identity and the global personality that he was trying to put out there for Ghana back in the days, the early days of independence. So he appointed Nana Parabia as the president of the Ghana Psychic and Traditional Healers Association. It was a national organization that brought priests together from all over Ghana to minister to the country, to minister to people, and to minister to the nation. Okay, now another person came into Nana Parabia's life in 1965. This was Gus Dinizulu, who he was known as at that particular time. And he came to the shrine for a spiritual consultation. He was in search of his roots, in search of his heritage. So he came to the shrine, and at this particular historic event, Nana Parabia's mother got possessed and said that he was descended from members of their family. So they wanted to bring him into the spiritual complex. Okay? And as far as I could tell from the research that I've done, she gave him permission to bring back not Akonnedi Shrine, but the Asurgebi Shrine back to America. And as far as I could tell, this is the first time that an Akan shrine was allowed to go outside of the country voluntarily. Okay? Let me go. Oh, wait. I'm talking so fast I forgot to forward the slides. That's Nana Parabia. And this is Nana Dinizulu, okay? Now, when Nana Dinizulu was allowed to take Asurgebi, remember, Akonnedi cannot leave Ghana, cannot leave Larteh, actually, but they allowed Asurgebi to come back to America. And this actually became the cornerstone of the Akan shrine practice in America, was the Asurgebi Shrine. Okay, so he became the primary deity and the cornerstone to the Akan ritual practice in America. Okay, now this particular deity is a very, oh my goodness, is a very serious, dominating, and masculine healing force. Let me get to the part about the Sum Sum and how the priest, the female priest, combines the sum, or the spirit that I talked about, combines with the male spirit. So it's a combination of the feminine and masculine principle. Here you have a very masculine, dominating, commanding, masculine presence, and you have his wives. And for the most part, all of the priests connected with the Surgery are female. So you have the feminine principle and the masculine principle. And Eugenia Herbert in Iron, Gender, and Power, Rituals of Transformation in African Society posits that gendered cosmologies are utilized for procreative and healing purposes as flesh and spirit are exchanged across boundaries. Therefore, I argue that it's through the Guan-Akan gendered cosmological vehicle of Sum that this is enacted in this particular instance. And so why is Sum important? It's important because Asuo's specialty is healing spiritual diseases, or what they call Sum Yari. These are diseases that defy biological medicine. Somebody goes to the doctor doesn't know what's wrong, the symptoms persist, they go to the shrine. So they are diagnosed through divination and rectified through herbs, rituals, sacrifices, and healing methods, which restore the person to wholeness, which is the definition of health here, is restoring a person to wholeness through their spirit. This is why spiritual diseases and the need to cure spiritual diseases are so important. So, briefly, how does somebody become a priest? Nobody volunteers for the job. You become a priest through suffering because you don't have any other choice. The deity is persisting, you're possessing everywhere, you're sick, you don't know what's wrong, you come into the shrine, you train, and in our particular system, we initiate as single persons, but we graduate as a group. And so we build up a lot of communitas with each other. We build up a lot of camaraderie. We're helping each other all the time. So when it comes to the time for the burial, when it comes to time when a surgery priest has died, we have to go and we have to do what they call the widowhood rights, what they call kuna. We have to separate ourselves from the priest. Now, the reason why it's so important for other surgery priests to come and assist in this, and why we are widows, is because when we become a priest, we take on a facet of our husband. Each one of us takes on becomes a different facet, a different iteration of our particular husband that is unique only to the relationship and to the marriage that I have between my husband and me. Nobody else has that. Nobody else can replicate that. So that's why we have to do these severance rites. We come and we sever. Now, at this same funeral, and I'm going to close with this, and I close with this because this is when, in 2008, when I did my year of field work abroad, I actually got to see what true devotion to a surgery is from one particular priest named Nana Mansa from Ajisu. And anybody who knows Ghanaian history, you know that Ajisu is the home of Ya Asantewaa, the greatest warrior of all time in Ghana, who led the last battle against the British in 1900. That's how bad she was. Okay, so Nana Mansa, I got to see how she was both husband and wife, because at the funeral everybody's getting possessed and everybody's it's crazy, it's wild, everybody's getting possessed and going in and out and this and that, but I got to see her as husband and wife. I got to see her as my husband as she possessed a surgery. Okay, very strong, very dominant. But then when she came out of her possession, another priestess got possessed by a surgery, and I got to see her as wife, and I got to see how much she loved her husband, how much she loved surgery. She wiped his face with such love and such intimacy and such protection. But you have to remember, this woman became a priest when she was 7 years old. And she lived with surgery. She had surgery in her bones, in her heart, in her beings. So that is my example to you of what love and devotion is in terms of ritual marriages, especially at the Akan shrines. Thank you.